For staying with politics tonight. Last night on the program, May 1st, we focused on recognizing Nigerian workers' contributions to nation building. But tonight we shall be focusing on the yearnings and agitations of the Nigerian worker. And joining me for that discussion is Comrade Tommy Etienne Okon, National President, Association of Senior Civil Servants of Nigeria. He's also the first Deputy President of TVC. Comrade, good evening to you, sir. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Good evening. Thanks for being here.
All right, so much has been said yesterday, but let's go over this again. NLC has rejected the 35% pay rise for civil servants on the remaining 6 consolidated salary structures, insisting on 615,000 naira living wage, and has now given government till end of May to see to this. First, what is your assessment of the entire situation?
I think there's a miscommunication here. I want to start by correcting an impression. The 35% or 25% rise, the workers has nothing to do with the national minimum wage. This was something that we have been agitating for, you know, especially as it affects the core civil service and other 5 agencies. So government, in its wisdom, have done well in this direction to correct the gap, because there was a gap, and breaching this gap will also help us, because when the new national minimum wage will come into effect, it therefore means that these agencies will not be shortchanged. So that is it. So the minimum wage issue is ongoing. So that has nothing to do with the 35% increase. So there's no reason for even rejection. Maybe there was a miscommunication.
Well, I do not think there was a miscommunication, because NLC President Joe Ajaero was very clear. Well, in all honesty, comrade, do you consider this 25%, 35% increase a Greek gift? Because, I mean, at the moment, there is a tripartite committee tasked with the responsibility of recommending... Can you hear me, comrade?
Please go ahead.
All right, so I was saying, do you consider, in all honesty, do you consider this 25% to 35% increase a great gift? Because at the moment, there is a tripartite committee tasked with that responsibility of recommending a new national minimum wage for Nigerian workers. So if the interim government says this is a pay rise, why should Labour reject it?
No. I've said it, and I'm emphasizing it. Let me re-emphasize it, that it is not to be rejected, that there could have been a miscommunication. It is not also a Greek gift. This has been things that we have been agitating for. And of course, you know, other sectors like the health sector, they benefited from it. It was just the research that is benefiting from it now, and the core civil service. So I don't think that there was any reason for rejection at all. So what government did to us is in line with what we were agitating for.
All right, so let's be clear, comrade. What you're telling me now is you're not on the same side with NLC President. I mean, last night I was speaking with the NLC chairperson, Lagos State Chapter, Comrade Fumi Sesi, who called this a Greek gift. So, in other words, you're saying you're not on the same page with those who have called this a Greek gift. Is that it, sir?
You see, let me tell you one thing. Some will look, some will not see. It's not everybody that have the eyes that sees. But I'm telling you, because I'm coming in from, you know, the public sector. Right. There have been these gaps in this country. So for government to correct it is a welcome development. And don't also forget, if the national minimum wage come into effect without this gap being corrected, we'll be going back and forth. So it's better it is corrected now before the new national minimum wage comes into effect. That's why I said it could be an issue of miscommunication. Maybe they don't understand it. They may have thought that this is a national minimum wage. It is not. It is not. And I'm emphasizing it. It is not. I'm putting it in a very clear term. That is not. I'm the national president of Association of Senior Civil Servants of Nigeria. And of course, as the first deputy president, Union Congress of Nigeria are in the public sector. So everybody in the civil service that have gotten the explanation right, they are very happy and convinced.
All right. Comrade, a benchmark of 615,000 naira, is this realistic?
Well, if we give you 615,000, will you take?
That's what I'm doing.
Because if people say it's not realistic, I wonder what will be realistic to them, taking cognizance of the socio-economic challenges. Today, the purchasing power of average Nigerian worker is weak. And because it's weak, it also has a spillover effect on the informal economy. The bank will not have what it will take to borrow. And none of us forget, government is coming, with a policy of recapitalization of the banks. And the bank feeds on what comes, to the workers. Now, if you look at the issue of transportation now, you look at the issue of house rent now, you look at the health situation, you look at how costly education is, you will agree with me that the 615,000 is grossly inadequate. But we decided to make that even before the increase in the tariff of electricity. When we came up with our proposal,
Comrade, are you there?
Electricity tariff was 95 naira per kilowatt. That means almost 300% increase. So when you put aggregate of this, because we don't just pass a figure, we've done due diligence, we have done
All right, Comrade, if you can hear me.
Proper market survey.
All right.
So these are some things you put. Look at it and weigh it. Even when your children is going to public institute, they have to buy books, they have to buy school uniform, they have to buy school shoes, and they need to take, even an average family who eat 500 naira, let's say we took that 500 naira a day times 6 people in a family.
All right.
When you put aggregate of this, you know that it's grossly inadequate. But because we have the nation at heart, that is why we come up with that 615,000 naira, for government to consider and approve.
All right, but since organized labor says it's open to negotiations, if you're to negotiate with government today, how much would you be negotiating for?
Well, let's see what government is bringing on the table. We look at it. Negotiation is like that. We agree to disagree and disagree to agree.
All right, so could you also help us break this down? 615,000 naira, how much is spent for housing? How much is spent for electricity with this consideration?
Well, I'm not down at the moment, but it is already there, and we don't want to preempt it until we get, because, we didn't present it to the public. The public only know the figure, but when we get into the nitty-gritty of discussion, will be in the public domain.
All right, Comrade. I asked that question because the conversation is not whether or not Nigerian workers deserve more. In the face of the current economic realities, many persons, stakeholders have said it is not contestable that Nigerian workers deserve more. They actually deserve more. But like I said earlier, and I really want to know, if you're to negotiate on behalf of organized labor today, what would you be negotiating for? This is the maximum for you, or the minimum, rather.
You see, if I sit down in your studio here to tell you this is how far we will go, I'll be deceiving Nigerians. I'm just part of the committee. I'm just a member of the committee. It will be a committee decision. When we get there, it will be a committee decision.
All right. Comrade, are you a member of the tripartite committee?
Yes, and that is why I'm very careful what I'm giving you.
All right then. So in the last 2 days, Governor Basaki increased the minimum wage to 70,000 naira. We also had Governor Basio to pegged at 40,000 naira. What do you make of those governors who have gone ahead with this, even before the federal government's announcements?
You see, I want to also correct this impression. If you recall, because of the hardship, Governor Baseke increased. We are still working on the old minimum wage. Increase it to 40,000 naira. And he has moved it to 70,000 naira. That does not have anything to do with the new minimum wage. When the new minimum wage is enacted, into law, absolutely he is going to increase, and he work with that. So I commend him for seeing the plight of the workers, for not waiting until the workers are dying before they want to use money to restore and bury them. So what he has done is good, because it's still based on the 30,000 national minimum wage, which expired 29th of April. Don't forget. And perhaps that's the reason the Minister of Labor said that the new minimum wage will take effect from May 1st. Yes, so he has consciously looked at the plight of the worker and also believed that the workers should be accorded their due respect. And that was why he raised it to that 70,000 naira, which is highly commendable. And don't also forget, even when the removal of fuel subsidy came, they were one of the few states, or the first states, that look at transportation and the workers enjoy free ride to the offices. So this is what is expected from governors. Not until the workers go on protest before they consider, what to be done for the workers.
Comrade, I'm happy you're saying this. I mean, it's interesting because some stakeholders within organized labor have called this a distraction. While some workers are happy, the conversations are yielding positive effects. But now that we all have agreed that Nigerian workers deserve more. But despite increased FAC allocation, some governors are still not paying this the 30,000 naira minimum wage. Isn't it time for state governors to start thinking of how to take care of their citizens, how to save more, how to generate money for their own states?
Absolutely, you are absolutely correct. Let me tell you, one of the greatest problems that we have is the leadership among some of the governors. For Mr. President, he understands the dynamic. But for the governors who are very recalcitrant, I don't know who they will go to. They only depend on people when they want to seek for votes. But after voting, they decide to feed their dog instead of feeding the people. It is unacceptable. Because if you look at how much they spend in feeding their dogs, you'll be so surprised. You'll be so surprised. What is 30,000 naira that the workers will be making? A lot of them are even owing gratuity and pension. And it doesn't mean anything to them. But they will come to Abuja and collect the facts and go back. Even what they make out of their security vote, if you ask them the insecurity in the state, you'll be amazed and surprised. And they are going into, a lot of them are going into white elephant projects that they know they will not complete and leave burden to whoever will take over from them. I think it's time for us to think so that when it comes 2027, people will not be going around the nook and crannies to campaign for vote. Now, if you tell them those areas they went to campaign for vote, how many of them have gone back there? And they refuse to look inward for internal generating revenue. All they wait for is to come to fact in Abuja and collect. It's not acceptable, and it is unspeakable, honestly.
Right. So, Comrade, how do we hold these governors accountable?
Yeah, the minimum wage committee and the ARC, when passed, will come up with those provisions, to checkmate their excesses. In fact, there's a committee working on that already.
Right, so as a member of the tripartite committee, could you please tell us what's happening with the committee at the moment? Why the delay in in coming up with an agreement on the national minimum wage? What's happening?
I think government should answer that question, because our own is, once you call us, we come attend the meeting. And for us as organized labor, we have been very diligent in attending once a meeting is called, But I believe at the moment, subcommittees are doing their work. And I know in the next meeting, when called, they will turn in the report and we start the negotiation proper.
So when should Nigerians be looking forward to?
I've told you, it's all in the hand of government, but we have given them a deadline, which is 31st of May.
All right. All right, so Comrade, the current NLC leadership led by Comrade Joe Ajero has been criticized for lack of direction and consideration, especially when negotiating with governments. Is the Nigerian Labour Congress, as of today, on the right course? And do you think the NLC is achieving its goals?
Well, I'm not a spokesperson for NLC. I think they have a spokesperson. They will be in the right position to address such issue. I'm of the TUC. Unless we come together, then we can take a decision together, because they are also, a central body, so they can also take their decision and they can also work the way we want. But I know that the TUC, led by Comrade Festus Osifo, understand the dynamic, and we engage government constructively.
So let's go back to yesterday when the president reiterated his commitment to improving the welfare of Nigerian workers, because really, I'm certain that it cannot be all about wages and salaries for Nigerian workers. What should that be, Comrade?
Well, I know the president meant well, but let me also let the president know that the cabal surrounding him are not giving the president the fulfillment of the desire for the New Hope agenda. I say this because if you look at the removal of the first subsidy, he assured us that there will not be any queue again, that there will be interplay of market force. But I was surprised to see the queue again, and it become worsened. Who is to blame? And if the organized labor has gone on strike or revolted when that was done, today, the whole blame will have been on organized labor, that if we have allowed it, we wouldn't have experienced this and that and so. So Mr. President needs to look inward, to look at those working around him. Some are playing the role of caterpillar to destroy, to damage his good intention. Mr. President needs to take a bold action to look at this NNPC Limited. It is time for Mr. President to put the searchlight on this NNPC Limited, because we cannot be experiencing it, in the military era and in democratic era. We're still experiencing this. It's not done. And we heard it on the news that the marketers are being owed over $200 million US for importing. How come? When you have removed the subsidy, or let government come out boldly and tell us that subsidy is still on, then we now know. But another thing, Mr. President, needs to do, there are policies you need to bring the labor into it, because some of us are informed. Because if you sideline us, and then because the economy involves the workers. And of course, you cannot achieve productivity without the workers. So if you want economic prosperity, the workers have to be involved. So but when you take a critical decision that affects the workers without involving the workers, it becomes counterproductive. We love the president more than those who are just being sycophantic. I can tell you. And that was why when he removed the first subsidy, yes, we were not happy, but we now consider because of national interest. Now, the minister will sit down, remove the tariff for electricity, in total defiance to the act, which is supposed to have been what stakeholders' decision will have played. Even in the World Bank values stakeholders' engagement. But in this case, you just wake up and another announcement. And even the ban they are talking about, other bans are also affected. How can you even pay for electricity you are not consumed? Today, as we speak, a lot of whom who have paid for prepaid meter don't have prepaid meter. So they depend so much on estimated bill. And if you travel and shut down everything for 1 month, you are coming to pay for electricity you did not consume. These are things that make it feel that policies are punitive. No, it's supposed not to be so. We are ready to pay as we go, but let it be a stakeholders agreement. So these are issues. Mr. President meant well, I can tell you. But the people surrounding Mr. President, they don't mean well. And that's why they are coming with issues. Some of them don't even understand the reality, the socioeconomic reality, because they have been able to enjoy the paraphernalia of office at the expense of the people's sweats.
All right, comrade, we'll come back to that. These are some of the issues I would like to take you up on. But then, earlier you mentioned a May 31st deadline. What happens after May 31st? Is Labour planning to go on strike? Comrade, did you get my question? I wanted to know what happens after May 31st. Is Labour planning to go on strike?
Well, you know, strike is also our right, don't forget. In fact, it's a fundamental right. But let me say that when we get to the bridge, we'll cross it.
All right. But do you think strikes are an effective bargaining strategy in every situation?
Well, you know, if you have a recalcitrant government and they believe that you only talk, you can't do anything, so strike is an option, and like I said, you know, is a language that government want to hear. So if that will be, but I don't pray it gets to that, because you know the present socioeconomic situation. But let government not force the organized labor to get to that level. It's not. It will be an ill will that will do anybody no good.
All right.
So I believe that government should speed up the negotiation on this minimum wage and get it to a logical conclusion. Delay is dangerous.
All right, then. Let's go back to, some days before May 1st, when organized labor released a statement with expectations ahead of the big day. Talked about good governance, strong institutions, more accountability, less corruption, respect for law and order by the government, more citizen participation in governance, lower exchange and inflation rates, higher standard of living for the citizens, and renewed hope in the country. It's almost a year since this administration kicked off. How do you assess this administration so far in regards to all of this I've mentioned?
Well, you know, I'm not talking politics, but I'm talking reality.
All right.
When you inherit a government, sometimes you don't understand, you know, if you are outside until you get it, it becomes difficult for you to reset it. It's like acquiring a vehicle, the body looks good, but the engine is bad. You really need to fix the engine before you can even ignite it for, you know, to test around. Relatively, the government is trying to put on policies that can transform the economy, but it cannot be done overnight. It cannot be done overnight. So the government shouldn't bring all policies together at the same time. It should be a gradual process so that we don't continue to suffer. You know, like the removal of fuel subsidy, the next thing is the increase in the tariff of electricity. All these, and they are not speaking well of the government. You know, even though the government have good intention, I think they need to do it gradually. You know, but in all, they are trying to do their best, but they should try, because you know the masses will not understand what they face. You know, except for those who are enlightened or exposed will understand what they face, but not every policy you put on the table. Today, we should not even go into building an highway. We should look at how to salvage the economy, you know, for the country to remain before you look at building an highway. You know, some of those policies are misplaced priorities. So government should put their priorities right. In all, Mr. President is trying his best. Don't also forget that it is not easy, for him. But I just pray that he make good selection of those who will be able to assist in realizing the set
But comrade,
objectives.
I want you to be very specific. How do you assess this administration in its efforts at reviving the economy, especially when it comes to CBN and some of its policies?
I cannot really assess it because even like some of the fiscal policy by the CBN, yes, it may look good now, but we need to look at it in the next few months before we can assess that, And you look at the fight against corruption. This corruption has been there, but I want to commend the chairman of EFCC, Olu. He has tried his best, But when you now look at a former governor, he amassing all this and running away instead of coming to prove that he did this and that, running away, causing chaos here and then, it's also concern. Now, the government, if by my assessment, it's not barely, maybe 2 years, we now look at what they have done so far. Let's see the maturity of whatever policy has put in place, because in policy implementation, there's what we call gestation period. Let us say, okay, the gestation period will be 1 year, 2 months, so it's barely a year now. So let's see what comes out of it.
All right, comrade. I want to also take you up on the plight of pensioners in Nigeria. The federal government approved a 28% pay rise for pensioners under the defined benefit scheme. What more can the Bola Tinubu administration do to ensure the pensioners in Nigeria are treated better?
Well, it started well with those defined pension scheme, but we want the issue look into those the contributory pension scheme too. And it should also look at restoration of gratuity, because with the restoration of gratuity, the noise factors will have been ceased. Because this is a gratis you give to somebody who has put in some number of years, either for 30, 35 years or 60 years, whichever comes first. You wouldn't allow them to wait for the pension, because pension come monthly. And that is why if you look at the organized labor have through their feet that gratuity should be restored. Because if you look at the Contributory Pension Act of 2004 as amended in 2013, it did not stop the payment of gratuity. And payment of gratuity is a constitutional matter. So once that is done, you find out that pensioners who retired waiting for their pension, they have something to fall back on. You need to look at that. You need to look at those very critically, those also in the contributory pension scheme. There's need for you to look at that. I salute what he did for defined pensioners, but then you need to look at those pensioners who in the contributory pension scheme, because they were the one that even assist the stability of that Obasanjo-led policy of contributory pension scheme. If they have turned it down, I don't think it would have worked. So for now, they have realized a lot of gaps, in that contributory pension scheme. So Mr. President need to intervene and ensure that the people in that scheme are well taken care of, just as he did for those the defined pension scheme.
So, comrade, for the purpose of clarity, this 28% pay rise only covers those on the defined benefit scheme. Does this mean there are pensioners not captured under this increment, or what does this imply?
It's just for those who are, the circular speak clearly and emphasize that it is for those who are in the defined pension scheme. That means those who were before the contributory, who retired before the contributory pension act came into force. Okay. Those who retired, so that is it. But those who are in the contributory pension scheme, that is those who retired after 2004, they are not benefiting from that percentage of increment.
All right. I mean, overall, pensioners still go through harrowing experiences just to get their due and legitimate pay. What should be done to reduce this burden, the burden from our old citizens when accessing their money?
It's a simple thing. Very simple, because every employer, the government knows when you enter the service and they know when you are exiting. So it's about strategic planning. If you look at other clients, before you exit the system, you will be notified. A year, you'll be notified. 6 months, you'll be notified 1 month. And at the end of the day you are exiting, your paycheck and all your entitlements are given to you. Are given to you. You don't need to wait. Nobody will tell you, bring this document for verification, come for fiscal verification. No. These things are strategic planning. You will plan. It's just like a man who has 5 children and refuse to plan for looking for money to send the children to school. One wife, you know that it will take 9 months or 10 months at maximum. And when it is time for bed, you start calling people to come and help you that your wife has put to bed, no money. You know, it's about strategic planning. Government have failed in strategic planning that they affect the retirees. I'm telling you, if you enter service today and government start planning for your exit, we won't have all these things. Nobody will exit the service and then come back the following day to go and look for file to bring out document to photocopy for verification.
All right, comrade. Now let's go back to some of the demands, specific demands of the NLC. Throughout last week, NLC talked about creation of state and local government police, granting of local government autonomy, and granting of infrastructure support scheme to all local governments, improved labor government industrial relations, full implementation of minimum wage, we've talked about that, settlement of pension arrears, establishment of compressed natural gas conversion centers, and fixing of the Port Harcourt and Kaduna refineries. Let's talk about state police. Do you think state police is the way to go for us?
If you ask me 20 times, I support it 100%. Let me tell you, the states are forming what they call vigilante groups. I mean, what is the difference between vigilante group and this? And most of them are licensed to hold a local gun. If you hold local gun, does it mean you cannot kill? What stops you holding AK-47 and pump action? So these are just bribery. This is just bribery. Because I listened to Inspector General of Police in one of the presentations that he kicked against the establishment of the state police. That shouldn't be the case. It should also be, because we cannot continue to say we are fighting insecurity using the same template and technique, the same security architecture, and we are not getting results, and we cannot change. It is not possible. We need to think outside the box, and one of the ways to think outside the box is by coming out with developmental policing, which is, you know, where you create the state police. And creating this state police, it will have a positive spillover to local government, because the people in the state knows their people. In the locality, they know the criminal there, and people will be held accountable. You know, rather than just leaving it for federal might to send police and so on. Some have already misinformed themselves to say that the governors will be using it for their wing and car presses. No, as the federal government used the police for their wings and car presses, I think we need to think outside the box and do things differently to get a different result. You know, when it comes to local government autonomy, we support it into two. Because when you talk of the 3 tiers of government, local government is the local government that is the closest to the people. Go and look at infrastructural development there. In my elementary school, people were conscious about local government. And that today is eroded because they are appointed by the governor. And once you are appointed, who pays the piper, they take the tune. Allocation that comes to them don't go to them. They call SAC. The state will sit down and decide what to give the local government chairman to work. And they will not say anything. I also blame the State House of Assembly who will not also have understanding and then will vote against the autonomy of local government. Local government administration is key. If this, because a lot of the influx of people to the city wouldn't have been if the local government is well funded, and the fund released to them. They will establish cottage industries, and a lot of people will work there because they will not be paying accommodation. They will be living their own houses and then going to work. But when there is nothing, that is why you see the pull factor. Everybody wants to be in the city. And when they come, accommodation becomes a challenge. And they'll be having problems with their relations who refuse to house them. How can you have one bedroom flat with 4 children and you want to carry excess luggage? I mean, no. Big Brother does not bring that to bear. So these are the things. If you look at our demand and what we think that government should do, they are genuine. And if government follow it religiously, you'll find out that a lot of things will turn around. That's why I said, Mr. President should not look at Labour as if Labour is a parallel government. No, we are partners in progress. And until Mr. President realizes this, because if you look at the economic team, he said no Labour is represented. They set up a committee, to look at and implement Ransomware's report. No Labour is represented. Look at all committees set up, no Labour. In the whole economic team, and Labour is critical for wealth creation.
All right, comrade, I understand that, but let's go back to the issue of state police. I'm sure you know there are concerns, and one major concern is that state governors may convert them, may turn them into something else, may start using them for their own selfish gain. How do we address these concerns? And do you think these concerns are tenable?
I have said it here. I've said it here. That is a misconception. Because the worst enemy of a man is change. We don't want to adopt change. The moment anything want to, align with you, now let me tell you, there was a lot of argument when Obasanjo government came on board, to approve that the Nigerian Civil Defense Corps be approved, even to carry arms. There was a lot of pressure from the state, from the police, not to allow them. But today, they are doing, at least, trying their best. And don't also forget, there's one other organization that's supposed to have been on ground. They call it Peace Corps. A lot of crises in the communities will have been addressed by them. Even when Senate said they consider it, they still turn it down. All these are power play. And these power play are not caused by any other, but they are caused by the cabal, who does not want the change, who want to suppress, who does not even want the renewable agenda to work. They are everywhere. Those are the centrifugal and centripetal forces. We are enemies of ourselves. There is nothing wrong with creation of state police. There is nothing, absolutely nothing wrong. It will create employment. It will take a lot of people out of the street and give them meaningful livelihood. Are they afraid of paying the state police? Are they afraid? So what is their fear?
Comrade,
let them explain to Nigeria. Will there be governor for forever? If one governor come, another one will come and go. The office will remain. Today, no president has have cornered the Nigerian police force to all of them to work in his house. No. They are working for the country. The state police will be working for the states. And every local government will be manned. Every community will be manned. We will reduce this insecurity. Maybe some people are eating fat and feeding fat from this insecurity.
Right,
and that's why they don't want the state police. We want the state police.
I get your point. But as we wrap up tonight, as the National President Association of Senior Civil Servants of Nigeria, what more are your expectations from the Bola Tinubu administration as it clocks 1 year? How else can governments mitigate hardship on citizens?
Honestly, we need to see the CNG buses in the streets. Mr. President needs to nip in whatever strategy the continuous fuel queue in this country. Mr. President needs to look at the electricity and then see how he can revamp it. Mr. President should also be mindful of some of those working around him and giving him advice that is even against his belief. I know Mr. President is very passionate, but I want Mr. President to run an inclusive government. He should involve the labor union in his policy direction, both formulation, implementation, and policy evaluation.
All right, comrade.
You will see a lot of things will change, but workers' welfare should be central to Mr. President. Of course, he said it, that he believed in living wage. We want Mr. President to walk the talk.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I've been speaking with the National President, Association of Senior Civil Servants of Nigeria, also the first Deputy President of the Trade Union Congress, Comrade Tommy Etim Okon. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
And thank you very much for watching. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Good night, everyone.